Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each week is an unscripted adventure in the many facets of love, oneness, and the human spirit. I am Lisa LaRose, and I'm joined by the most amazing Michael J. Russ, who is always an inspiration. I want to say welcome, Michael, and check in and see how you're doing today.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great day. It's a beautiful day. It's fall. Weather's starting to back off a little bit with regard to humidity, and not that I'm the weatherman or anything, but all I can say is it's a beautiful day. The clouds in the sky, the blue of the sky. Down here by the beach, it's just always such a beautiful sky. And if it stays like this, I might be able to see Cygnus tonight again. I think I saw last Pegasus.
We had the same beautiful clear skies, and I was one of those wackos who was up early this morning. I'm like, what is that in the sky? And it was Venus. Venus was so bright this morning. Wow, it was just incredible.
It's always right there. It's always been there for months. And remember the conjunction that we had last month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Venus and I forgot what the other planet was, but they were sitting right beside each other last month with the conjunction. And before that, it was a single planet. Then the conjunction came, and I've been watching it all summer. It's just been sitting there in the horizon, rising over the trees at 5:30 in the morning. It's so beautiful.
It was so beautiful, Michael. The conjunction that you were speaking about was actually extra special because it was a triple conjunction, which we rarely see. And it was Venus, the moon, and the bright star Regulus. It's something that we don't see very often. And I love Venus because it's the planet of love, and that's what we're all about. So I'm just grateful for the reminder. Thank you, Michael.
I keep threatening to take the telescope out, let it sit outside all night and acclimate, and then come out, get up early and look at it. And I'm probably still going to do that this weekend.
You know, that's a great idea. And it's perfect weather for it, too. It's not too humid. It's just beautiful weather this time of year. Beautiful skies and a crisp freshness in the air. It's wonderful. So Michael came up with a wonderful idea for the show today. And last week we spoke about being the voice of love and how each one of us have the ability to emanate and really shine through. And I don't know about you, Michael, but I took a lot of what we spoke about and put it into practice this week. How about you?
Yes, always. I'm fascinated by the track we take. You know, it's like driving an automobile down the highway and then seeing these road signs and then just turning off the highway. Well, the highway represents love, and the big question is always, how do we stay on that highway? How do we stay on that highway? Not allow ourselves to be dragged off in one direction or another and forget, where we are.
Right.
I'm fascinated by that. Although, I'm a work in progress, as you are too, and we have our own. Everybody has something that comes up every day that I believe are designed to. These events are designed to test us because this is school. So we're being tested on whether or not we're living from love, really truly committed to it, living from love, and responding, reacting based on love instead of the opposite, lower frequencies of frustration and anger and worry and the hate and all these other ridiculous concepts that are, in the lower frequency ranges, the opposite of love and joy and fun and excitement and passion. So I'm fascinated by it, and it this last week has been really interesting.
It has been.
Yeah.
I posted something on Instagram stories, and it was kind of just a good expression of what I've been going through, and it was somebody demonstrating how to do the hustle, and it was with that music, da 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 da. And I sort of thought that's kind of what I'm been doing. It's like I move and I'm taking these dance steps and I'm moving this way and then and then I pivot and I'm going this way and da 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 da. But listening to that music and moving my body, even in that simple, just few moments, really helps shift the energy. And I'm like, okay, I got this. It's okay. Whatever's going on, shift it, move it. And that's sort of what I'm doing. And I'm grateful for the technology that we have. It got me sort of pondering, Michael, because you had said about being disconnected. And I thought, well, isn't it ironic that in a world where we are more connected than ever by technology, why do so many of us feel so profoundly disconnected from love and from each other? Way back when, and I love catching the reruns, there's so many great old episodes of different shows like Green Acres where they would have a telephone that would be on a pole, and they would have to call, and they'd say, "Hi, operator, can you connect me to such and such a person?" And there was a time when international calls had to be plugged in that way as well. And so you had these operators at switchboards that would plug something in according to the right jack, and you hope that you got the right line. And sometimes you would get these party lines where it would be more than one person. And I couldn't even imagine that job, being there and physically doing that. But if we think about the universe, it's sort of like this massive old-fashioned telephone exchange. And we actually can plug in our way that we do it. We don't use a jack plugging in. We're actually connecting to each other with love. We forget that we're actually already connected. I mean, that it's so interesting the way that the time shift, and we're so advanced. But when we think about it, the lines have always been there. We're already wired into the network of oneness. Disconnection is just a perception. It's like that plug that hasn't been put into the wall. But in truth, the lines are always there. It's just for us to recognize that we're already plugged in and connected to that ever-present source of love. Bashar, whom you and I both love, would say the feeling of disconnection is actually an indicator. It's a compass pointing us back to the remembrance of who we are. And I think that's truly beautiful. You were bubbling on this topic, so I'd love to hear your thoughts and what made you want to connect to disconnection and how our audience navigate through some of the challenging times.
Well, it's interesting. The concept of love gets kind of thrown by the wayside because of so many other things that come along that are heavier in weight. If you know what I mean, it's like we give weight to certain events and circumstances, and when we give weight, credence, we invest in them. Love is not really, love takes a sideline seat. And I'm fascinated by that concept, by how that is, how we do that, and how I personally can begin to see things more actively, more intentionally from the perspective of love. In other words, training myself to ask that question first. Am I step back from it, take a breath, and am I acting from love? And because we have it, man, we react quickly to things nowadays. I mean, the things are thrown at us, we react. They're thrown at us, we react. Things happen, we react. And we get into action without thinking about how we're reacting and where our reactions are coming from, what they're rooted in, right? And all I was saying before the show is that, let's talk about, the fact that we're beings that come from love. That's where we come from. And anybody in the spiritual community would tell you that. This is where we come from. We come from love. When we're born, we're born happy and loving and joyful and ready to take on the world, curious, inquisitive, and then somehow along the way, I've always said we learn to be otherwise, because somehow this reality that we live in carries a lot of weight, and we have to learn not to carry it. And we were talking about something else a little earlier, control. We tend to look outside of ourselves to control our environment. We want to control people. We want to control circumstances. And these are things we don't have control over. And I've come to the conclusion that every time we attempt to control something, every time I attempt to control something, that the control takes over and the love goes away. And that's really it. We have to let our outside circumstances play out as events and circumstances, and be careful about how we interject ourselves into them. If somebody comes to us and they've got a problem and they're involved in a lot of drama, it's easy to buy into that drama, to buy into that negativity that they have and make a comment or to placate it or to reinforce for them that they have this issue, that this issue is real, right? It's a how and a why thing. They come to you and say, how does this happen? Why does that happen? And you go, well, maybe this, maybe that, and we placate, we invest in it. And what I've begun to do is, well, actually I started doing this decades ago. As a reminder right now, at some particular point I've done it. However, the pace of information, the flow of drama, the flow of all these events is 10 times faster than 40 years ago, 10 times faster than 20 years ago. And because we have instantaneous news from everybody who's got a camera all around the world. So this information comes in, and if the social media or their sources of media consider it to be viable enough to get clicks through, to capture your attention, it's there for you. The earthquake and so-and-so, the this and that, the flood and whatever, the hurricane's going to hit this place. And these are things that happen. So I have said to myself, these things are simply events. I have to train myself, to continue to train myself, that these are events. No different than 40 years ago, no different than 100 years ago. They're just events. These things happen. And they happen for reasons that are none of my business. Really, they're none of my business. I can give them love. I can send love. I can send love and light to whomever and wherever, anywhere on the planet, right? And by putting that into the consciousness, I'm actually helping that situation. It's a non-physical thing, no time, no space. And I know that my love gets to the right place and helps the consciousness of that particular area. However, we have this tendency to invest in things, and we have to release ourselves from that need or desire, or even at this particular case, it's kind of a reaction, a knee-jerk reaction that we have, that we must say something, we must judge it in some way. And the interesting thing is, when you've got judgment, there's no love.
Right.
Those two can't exist in the same space. So one of the things that I have also focused on is what am I judging? And to back off on that, to dial that back, to say, no, doesn't need we don't need judgment here. Not even that, and there's judgments. It's so subtle, right? It's so subtle. We see something here, something, oh, I like that. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, this is that. Oh, the color is kind of off a bit. And we turn around and we start making all these judgments, thousands of them a day, of everything. The wind's blowing too hard. No, it's not. It's not blowing hard enough. It's this, it's that. Well, it is what it is. And when you sit in love, you're releasing yourself from that need to judge. And it's a great space when you get there. It's a great space. Now, the question is always, how do you actually go through your day without releasing yourself from judgment and all of that? Because it's what the world wants you to do, is judge. Everything wants you to judge it. This is good, this is bad. Oh, I like this, I don't like that. I mean, the whole social media thing with the like and no like thing is buttons are set up on judgment, right? They want you to judge. So like I said, it's everywhere. And so when I look at things now, I very rarely do I put a like unless it's something that really moves me, that is based in love, that has value and relevance to the global consciousness in terms of love. Then I'll hit a like. Then I'll hit a like, and I'll say thank you, kudos to you, great message, right? That's it. And that's a judgment. However, what I'm doing there is I'm looking to put the positivity out there, put that loving light out there, that of support and reinforcement, to say keep bringing more of this positive light, and not saying no to those things that I don't like. Because when you say no, it also is a algorithmic reinforcement, right? In social media, in that thing. And that's what we do too, when in life, even without outside of social media. So basically, to sum this all up, making sure that I'm just letting things unfold around me and seeking to invest as little as possible in terms of judgment and staying loving and open. Because everything happens for a reason, right? There's all these little adages. Everything happens for a reason for someone. For someone. And not me. All these things that are happening out there, I'd say 95% of them have anything to do with me. And I have to remember that at all times. They don't have anything to do with me. They are purposely there for someone else. Because they're happening, they're in my outer world I cannot control. If it happens to me directly, I know it's happening for me. It's not happening to me. It's for me. Let's figure out why I chose this experience. Right?
Sure.
Back to that, figure out how I chose it. So that's kind of where I'm at this particular point with regards to
I think that's great. It is. And, Michael, I was chuckling because when you talked about judgment, that was actually one of the things that I was pondering this morning. I had to run to the store, and when I pulled into the parking lot, I couldn't really get in because a truck was blocking the way, and there was music so loud. I was in my car, and it was just so loud and so reverberating. I thought, I couldn't see it. When I got out of my car, there was a gentleman, and he had a beautiful, bright blue, shiny motorcycle, and the music was just, I'm sure he could hear it with the engine's running, but it was so loud. And it took me a minute to kind of correct because I thought, well, if the music's too loud, then I'm too old. Like that old saying. And I thought, he's enjoying this music. Who am I to stand in judgment of what this gentleman enjoys? And it was a really good reminder for me to kind of pivot. And then he turned off the music. He went in the store. I went in the same store. We happened to come out. And when I came out, he had the biggest smile on his face, and he said hello. I said hello back to him. I said, what a beautiful motorcycle. It's a wonderful day for a ride. And it was that moment of correcting and being, again, that voice of love and recognizing I don't need to stand in judgment of how somebody else wants to live their life. And I think that's where the idea of disconnection comes from. And it is so connected to what Abraham always talks about, Esther talks about, is the source energy. And when we have that disconnection, it's an absence of that alignment with that perfect love that we came from. So truly, when I was standing in that space, looking at how loud the music was, it didn't make me feel good. It made me feel better to shift and say, what a beautiful bike, and it's a gorgeous day for a ride. And I think that we just have to sort of recognize that whatever it is that's going on in the world, it's not there's a problem here or it's other people. It's a lack of alignment with our true self. So, I'm bringing myself back. I'm going, okay, I need to actually, as you always say, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. So that exchange was such a good reminder. So perhaps the disconnection is sort of a frequency mismatch. I wasn't aligned to how loud the music was, but then once I was like, oh, this is a reminder. If the music's too loud, you're too old. I gotta put me in that category and recognize that this gentleman and I are truly not separate. We are here on this planet experiencing, we each have our gifts, and the smile that he shared with me was like I could see it in his eyes. It was just such a nice, wonderful exchange, and it made my day. And it was just something so simple of that reminder of that connection. And it reminds me, you had brought up, I didn't see the video that you were talking about with Bashar this morning, but Bashar always said that separation is an illusion for us, that it's necessary for us to experience specific points of view. So we are all one. We are all aspects of that same consciousness, each of us playing a different role. Whatever that gentleman was allowed me to step back and correct and go, hey, you know what, I was just talking about being the voice of love. Let's correct yourself and be that voice of love. Be what you are, speak what you want to have into being. And that's really Yeah. So I appreciated that, Michael, a lot.
Wonderful experience. That's a wonderful experience. That we, like I said, we so want to control our outer world that we get caught up in it, and that is a wonderful way to acknowledge in a loving way and accept someone for whom they are, for who they are. You're just accepting that person, and acceptance and allowance of your outer world to play out is, in my view, another aspect of love. You can stay in love when you just let things be, right? You can stay in love. It's when we, again, begin to invest in them and do things and want to change them, shift them, control them, judge them. That's when things fall off the rails. That's when the love disappears. And it's interesting because another woman who was talking, I don't know if I sent you the YouTube. It was another woman I came across, not by accident, of course, because she had some really wonderful things to say about love. And she's one of the people in charge of setting up a website for what Jesus' teachings, not the ones in the Bible. Jesus' teachings is really kind of interesting. Something similar to akin to the book, the channeled book the Book of Light. She didn't reference that specifically, but she said they're working on a website that Jesus came to them and said, "Put my teachings on a website. My words have been misconstrued and are misguiding people, and I want people to know what I'm about." And it really boils down to something very, very interesting and very simple. And it was what I sent you. Forgiveness is the seed. Love is the result. Is what grows from that. There was another. I wrote it down. I said, "This is so poignant. It's so absolutely amazing." And I'm going to find it here very quickly because it was. Yeah, forgiving is the seed. Love is the harvest. That's what it was. Forgiving is the seed. Love is the harvest. And it was on Next Level Soul. So Alex Ferrari was asking her, boil it down to what Jesus said, and how you can live a life that allows you not to have to keep coming back time and time again. And she said, it's so simple. Forgiveness and love. You practice forgiveness, you practice love. Those two things, and you'll never have to come back and incarnate. She said, you got to buy into them. Hook, line, and sinker, faith, trust, everything. In every moment, forgiveness and love. Forgiveness is a gift, and there was a earlier conversation that talked about that, because a lot of people have trouble with forgiveness when it comes to loving everything, loving this world. Right? We're into judgment, which means we're not forgiving ourselves, and we're not forgiving things. You're not forgiving the act. You're forgiving the energy, and that energy we want to dissipate. We cannot. Otherwise, we carry it with us. We carry the negative memory of that thing with us. That negative energy. We have to let it go. Whatever it is, have to let it go. And once we do that and continue to practice that, just like the Ho'oponopono, it transmutes whatever it is. It's magical. And that love is born of forgiveness. It's born of forgiveness. And using it, I don't think we use it enough. When you're judging, it's what's neat, and I thought about this today, would be to say the Ho'oponopono prayer of forgiveness right after a judgment. Just literally wipe it out. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. That basically would be kind of cool, right? Wouldn't it? To do that?
Yeah.
I apologize.
No.
Cool as all get out. That would be cool if we did that, if we practiced that.
And Michael, I believe that even that little cute bell in the background was a reminder. It was sort of like when an angel gets his wings. Do you remember that from A Miracle on 34th Street? There was a little bell that goes off. And when you had said that about the seeds, it's so interesting. I have to say that your guides are talking to my guides, because I picked up a book in a secondhand bookstore, and it was by Mark Nepo, The One Life We're Given, Finding the Wisdom That Waits Your Heart. And he has at the end of each chapter seeds to water, which I had to laugh when you said that, because sometimes with books like his, I just will open it up to a page of what I need to read and sort of contemplate. And one of the things that was written, and I'll read the seed to water after, but it was so poignant of what you were just saying. He said, no matter where we are in life, we come to an edge at which we're asked to grow. In the heart, it leads us to the edge. I've stumbled at that edge my whole life, only to accept that there's no one way to grow and no one way to shape the path that keeps us alive. But I've learned to strive for that apprenticeship, to trust the work of mastery, and only a practical heart can know the difference. And the seed to water was, he said, in your journal, describe a time when speaking from your heart, let the inner beauty be seen in the world. What caused you to speak from your heart, and what process did this feel like? And it's exactly that. And when you're in that space where you're in that judgment, being at that edge, and then you sort of look and you say, the illusion of disconnection dissolves when we shift our focus from fear and lack to curiosity, gratitude, and compassion. You and I have spoken about that. And sometimes it's just like my experience that the eye contact, the words, sometimes it's the touch, sometimes, you'll notice something, and it's just in a kindness. You just lay your hand on their hand, and it just takes that momentary presence to plug that connection in. It's like that connection plug. But it reminds us that unity, that oneness we have, that connection is never truly lost. So no matter where we are, we can bring ourselves back. And there's a woman, Barbara Fredrickson, she had this wonderful idea of love as micro moments. And she said, just practice giving full presence in tiny ways, no matter what it is, like that kind word to a stranger, or looking at somebody's eyes instead of just rushing past them, or when somebody holds the door for you. And I really like that, these micro moments, of all the different things that you can do in those little moments of time, because we're truly only here on this planet for a short time. And how many of those moments pass us by where we have an opportunity to connect. And I like that idea.
I do. Micro moments. Awesome. That's an amazing idea, in fact. It's what that, when I hear that, what I love about it is the fact that it's a way, it's like walk before you run. You got to crawl, then you walk, then you run, right? And then you're really, really running, right? And flying, so to speak. That's baby steps. That's baby steps, micro moments, baby steps, in order to ingrain the process and to create muscle memory, so to speak, about thinking and acting from love. That is what that does, and I like it. I've always said we have to take little bits of this and start applying it, some aspects of what we say, to start applying it every day in a small way. And when you do it in a small way, that's what happens, right? It happens. So I love it. Love it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes in those micro moments, because as you said, when you may stand in judgment of somebody, but when you're interacting with somebody, that's maybe a little challenging. If you kind of drop into your heart and you say, this person is doing their absolute best with their awareness that they currently have. And you have to just have that empathy. In my holistic health practice, one of the toughest lessons that I had to learn was that I couldn't want something more for somebody than they wanted for themselves. But I could hold space.
Yeah.
And if they needed me, I would be there. And
right.
Yeah.
You can. That is so beautiful, and it's a poignant message, because, again, it's about that control. We want other people to be better than they see themselves. But however, that's not our job. Our job is to influence, pass on information that someone can use to enrich their life and their feelings and transform their life in some way. However, we can't carry their mantle, right? We can't do the heavy lifting. It's their life. And we may be there, we're likely there as a messenger, Just like this radio
Mm-hmm.
show, we're messengers on this show. We have to release our attachment as messengers. We have to release our attachment to whether or not someone acts upon our message, because we can't sit around worrying about that, because we don't have control over people. We can send people love, and we can be the guiding light. If it's somebody face to face, you can give them a hug. You can demonstrate love in that way. And however, it is them that is going to have to. They're the ones that are going to have to shift their thoughts, shift their thinking, to move themselves beyond the challenge that they have created for themselves in their life. Because that's what we've done. We create situations in our life that are really opportunities. They're not problems. They're not issues. They're really opportunities for us to evolve through them. And when we get to the other side, a year or two later, 10 years down the line, you're going, yeah, that was really challenging at the time. However, I got through it. I moved through it in a positive way, loving myself all along the way. And in doing so, I'm where I am today. And I'm happy that I had that experience. At the time, not so much. However, you look back on that experience in a positive way, and maybe take that energy and that you collected at the time, that you created, that positive energy that helped you flow through that challenge, and you can apply it to something else. You can recall that situation and your success in it and reconstitute that energy to move you through something else, maybe completely different, but you have a basis, you have a contrast from which a positive contrast from which to work from, and to continue to evolve and transform new challenges in your life.
Right. And I think it's about aligning yourself with that frequency. We talk about that. When something is a vibrational match, you raise your energetic frequency, it will come to you. We cannot force connection, but we can align ourselves to it. And I think that that's oftentimes, as you said, when you're swiping through all these different things on social media, you kind of look like at your life the same way, like, okay, oh no, I really don't want to experience that. Swipe it. How can I shift it? Whatever it is that you're bringing through, you can change your energetic frequency. And I don't know if you remember the Reverend Michael Beckwith, who was in the movie The Secret.
Yeah.
He speaks so beautifully about what happens when we learn to look beyond the limited space of judgment. And instead of seeing others as separate, we start to recognize them as reflections of the one self, the different expressions of the same source, which is pure love.
Right.
And he has such a powerful way of explaining that disconnection isn't actually real. It's more like a frequency mismatch, and that love and unity are always broadcasting. So sometimes we're just not tuned in. And the moment we align our inner signal with the vibration of love, that illusion of separation starts to dissolve. And our true self, that essential self, naturally shines through. We let our love shine through. And so if we, as you said, we come into this life and we have all of these different lessons to learn, and perhaps we came in with this forgetfulness and we agreed to play a role. And how divine is it that even though this person, I came in here to learn a lesson, and the role that they're playing, I may not like it, but it opens up new doorways, which allows me to make connections with individuals who are aligned with my frequency. You know, we can talk about unity consciousness and oneness all day long, but there's something really magical that happens when we actually live the question, what would it look like if everyone I encounter today were part of the same unified field of love, that we're not disconnected from them, that we're actually truly connected. I did 2 back-to-back events recently, and the first was a community gathering, and then the second was an inspiration and healing fair. And to be honest with you, I haven't done in-person events for a long time, and I really wasn't sure I wanted to do them anymore, but there was something inside of me that said yes. And I'm so glad that I did, because what unfolded was truly magical. So before I walked into the first event, I made a conscious choice. Instead of going in with the typical mindset, will I make connections? Is it worth my time? I asked myself, what would it look like to see everyone I encounter today as part of the same unified field of love? And in that moment, everything shifted, and I wasn't there to get anything. I was just there to be present and open to whatever was meant to unfold. I connected with two amazing people in the design world, which was completely unexpected, and then I met this young woman who felt like a soul sister, and our visions were so aligned it was almost uncanny, like we'd known each other forever, and I like to think of it that the universe aligned for us to meet at that time. And then I spent time with an incredible 80-year-old healer who came in from Buffalo, New York, and she was so kind, and she had the most amazing wisdom that only really comes from a lifetime of walking the path. And when I was done, I was really tired, obviously, but it made me pause and ask, like, what would it look like if I saw every person I encountered as part of that same unified field of love? So when we remember that we're part of a greater whole, something shifts, and we naturally start to extend love outward to strangers, friends, family, because we recognize every person we meet is another version of ourselves. And the key is we have to consciously choose connection. It doesn't happen automatically. There's something so powerful about coming together in community and connecting with like-minded souls. We each have different paths that led us to that event. And, something really struck me after those two in-person events. Beyond all the synchronicities and inspiring conversation, there was this simple, powerful awareness that kept rising in my heart. When we remember that we're part of the whole, we naturally extend love to all. And when we approach life this way, every interaction becomes an opportunity. These are the threads that weave the fabric of connection. It's really beautiful that each of the people that I met is going to go out into the world and have their own encounters. Maybe they carry a little of the love that I shared with them, and that energy ripples outward in ways we can't even see.
We wonder sometimes, I've always said this, we think we go to a place because of one reason and end up actually, if you're really aware of it, you're there for another reason. And Donna Bell was quick to say, sometimes you are just there to enjoy yourself. And sometimes there's not a reason behind everything, an alternative reason for you being there. And I said, that is true too. I just happen to always meet, like you, great people. I'll sit down and have a conversation with someone that is a complete stranger, and it turns out, we got something in common, or we share some light, and in doing so, they feel awesome. I feel awesome, and perhaps that's the point, right? To be the light in someone's life, and they in yours. That is awesome. That is the definition of love as well. When you're bringing light to the table, when you're bringing light to the room, and other people are bringing their light, and you're sharing your light together, that's also a representation of love. And what we should be doing is just that. And I was then getting a sandwich today in a shop on the way back from Tallahassee, and I was almost back, 45 minutes from home, and I got a little hungry, and I walked in, and I always have deep respect for people who are serving other people in whatever capacity, because they're connecting with the public. They are sharing their light with everyone who comes into their establishment, and they do their best to maintain a high level of light. And I'm there to replenish, right? I'm there to replenish their light, to if it's been darkened in some way or dimmed in some way, I'm there to give them a little fuel, get that light back up again. And I do so by just treating with the absolute utter respect that they deserve, and smiling and giving them that energy, that love, having them feel that love, and calling them by their name. I'll look on their name tag. I'll say, thank you, Kristen. I really appreciate it. This is wonderful. You did a great job. And pay and be on my way. It doesn't matter whether they're a friend for life or that's not, the goal is not to make a million friends. There's no way in the world that you can actually connect on that level with a million people. Although people on social media think that's exactly what they're doing, that is not happening, right? There's a handful of people that you'll connect with in your life on that level. However, you can share your light with everyone. And doing that, just setting that as an intention when you get up in the morning. If you know you're going to go somewhere, you're going to connect with somebody in a doctor's office, you're going to connect with somebody at a restaurant, or some other place, you have to go post office. By the way, cute little story, I walked into the post office yesterday to buy a birthday card for my girlfriend's granddaughter who just turned 13 yesterday. And I walked in for the first time, I think, in years, and I do mean years. There was nobody in there but two people working behind the counter and me. I said, where is everybody? And one of the gals behind the counter, the postal worker, said, "Shh, don't jinx it."
That's funny.
That's pretty amazing. I said, I'm in here to buy a birthday card, and then they started talking about me. I turned around and said, "Are you talking about me?" And they were giggling, having a good time. And I think they were talking about the fact that I had mentioned that there was nobody in there, but it was just so much fun. And I bought my card, and I giving as much light as I possibly could, because if anybody has to deal with a lot of disgruntled people, it's postal workers, right? They're in there, and people don't understand how the process works. It's convoluted. You got to put this in you got to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, make sure everything's in the right place. And you get through that, people go through that, and they're just not used to doing that on a daily basis, so they can get a little bit mentally rambunctious, I call it, and kind of tend to blame the messenger, so to speak, which is the person behind the counter. So I just loved it. It was probably the most fun I'd had in the post office in a long time. And even then, you're standing in line. You can give your light to the person in front of you or behind you, if that is something that you sense can benefit them. Sometimes you're in situations and people are just in their own space, and this happens in a lot of really, really busy cities like New York and Atlanta, San Francisco. And there's so many people, LA especially. There's so many people. The city is so crowded that personal space is a premium if you're not at home. So a lot of people tend to not say hi to somebody for fear that they're going to talk to them and start a conversation and take up some of their personal time and personal space. It's kind of a shame, but that's kind of the way it is. And here in the South where I live, everybody says hi to everybody. How you doing? How's your day?
Yeah, that's nice. Mm-hmm.
They wave when they drive by, and I'll say to Sandy while we're walking, "Who's that?" And she'll go, "Who's that?" I'm going, "I don't know, but we wave. We wave when they drive by. The hand comes off the steering wheel. They give you a quick wave, and you very rarely does someone not wave, and it's kind of cool. And people say hi to each other, and it's just I guess
beautiful.
It's just Southern
well,
way.
that's that connection, and it really. It's beautiful, and I love the spontaneous exchange that you had in the post office, because I think when you walk in and you're so grateful for what they do and how they serve you, whether it be the individual in the restaurant or the workers in the post office, they gave you a gift. They gave you a smile. And I know that when you walked in there, you paused, you looked them in the eye, and you sent them that burst of love and kindness. And when you smile, from your soul to theirs, that thank you. It's that wave. It's like, hey, I see you. And you do see people. And I think that that's a really powerful gift. And it takes a while. When I studied with Sonia Choquette, that was one of the things that she had us do. We had a partner, total stranger, and we would just look into their eyes, no conversation at all, literally just look into each other's eyes. And she asked us to concentrate and see their gifts. And the analytical mind's going, I can't do this. I can't, what am I going to say about this person? But as you just looked into somebody's eyes, there was a softening that occurred. And the woman that I was partnered with, I just got this impression that she had a gift of music. And I said to her, you have such a nice, calm presence. I said, I have a feeling that you have a gift of music. And she said, oh, yes, I love to sing. And she went on to say all these different things. And when she talked to me about her love of music, she lit up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah.
It was so wonderful. And I think it's just having that moment that when we pause and we look at somebody in the eye and, as you did, just mentally see who they are. They saw you, they felt you, they saw your light, and I'm sure that even after you left, they were still talking about the joy of the exchange that you guys had together. It was
you want
sweet.
them. What I love is the fact that they could. I want somebody to go home and say, there was this guy that walked in today, and he had so much light, and he shared that light with us. He was so cool.
Or he really made my day, right? He really made my day. I'm sure you really made their day.
You want to be that person, though, but doing it in a way that is just natural and part of who you are. There's an aspect of there's trying too hard, and there's just caring about another individual, just caring about them. And sometimes it's not as deep as the banter that we had going on there. Sometimes it's just, hey, you get your card, you go over there, and you go to the counter, and you say, hey, how you doing, Jennifer? And because she's got Jennifer on her name tag. Call people by name. They're not carrying the name they have because of chance. It's who they are. It's part of their character. It's part of who they are as an individual, as a soul here in this earthly plane, this universe, so to speak. So, I love it. I've talked about that before. It's just that's another aspect of love, of
absolutely
being loving, right? So, all these little things we talk about, they're like little building blocks. You don't have to do all of them. If you start loving yourself first, because that's really that's paramount. And we talked about self-care a little bit. I wrote down, it's really odd because I started writing down these things about self-care, and I think they're going to go into that little book about the rice in my bowl.
Oh, wonderful. How wonderful.
Yeah, I think something about
that's
that.
Great.
I started writing down a bunch of stuff, and to make sure that I remember the journal I put it in, because I have several pages. And, the self-care aspect is really, really important because it's a challenge to, as we say, you have to be the love first yourself, and then you're sharing it, right? And because a lot of people, I get this sense, and I come across some people that they don't have the love for themselves, but they're just a giver. They like to pick other people up, but they're not picking themselves up. You know what I mean? They're judging themselves. They're shaming themselves about something in the past, and their way of working through that or covering it up. Is really the way I perceive it. Covering it up and hoping it goes away is to just serve others and to the point of exhaustion. And you can't do that. You have to. The love will emanate from you naturally when you take care of yourself, when you put yourself first and instead of last. You can serve others, but you have to serve yourself first. You have to stoke your own light. That's the word I want to say. Stoke your own light first. And in doing so, you'll naturally emanate it to other people without even opening your mouth. They'll see light coming.
Yeah. When
you walk into the room, you'll light the place up, and that's a way of loving as well. That's love, giving love to people. It's a form of love without even saying a word or doing anything. You're just on your own, but you're smiling, you're loving life, loving yourself, and that is a beautiful way to share love. If you're a shy person, just love yourself. It'll resonate. It'll emanate from you like a beacon. People will be able to tell that person takes care of themselves. Wow, that person has a lot of good light. They'll notice it. They'll notice it without just saying a word. It's awesome.
Right. We did an episode about the invisible threads of love that connect us, and I really appreciate, Michael, that you're bringing up the fact that we can, even if you're shy, you can just go inward. And if you're home and you place your hand on your heart, and you can just sort of practice breathing in and whatever it is that you want to say. remind yourself that you are connected, that you are love, that we are all one, and just breathe that in. And so then when perhaps you're in an interaction with somebody or in a store, perhaps you don't have the confidence to speak it out loud. But if you come from a voice of love, just even in your head, I make it like a mantra. I see you. I appreciate you. We are connected. I love you. I love myself. Whatever the words are that you start echoing in your mind, it will become easier and easier, and you may just speak them unexpectedly because you've anchored it in. And sometimes I'll rehearse things in my head. But Michael, we and I do this show completely unscripted, so whatever is meant to unfold, unfolds. But oftentimes we'll speak about a topic in the morning, and then I'll think about different things and a direction for things to flow, or something that I can anchor into so I can hopefully offer something of value to our listeners and to you, Michael, in this exchange. And it is because I go back and think about it and then anchor in, and what am I grateful for, what exchanges, and I am grateful for this time, and I do feel connected, and I'm grateful for the people that make the time to comment or connect with me on social media, and that there are individuals that place and consciously put out positivity that I can anchor into. So perhaps if I'm having a difficult day, I can anchor into something that will bring a smile to my face, little snippets of positivity, including the hustle, which is what I was anchoring into and doing yesterday.
Yeah. It's funny, we have talked about self-love several times on the show, and it's really important to stoke that love. And while you were talking, I was writing a couple of things based on what you were thinking, and you can sit in front of the mirror in the morning and say, I appreciate you, say I love you, say I'm grateful for this life, I forgive any and all self-judgment. That's it. You can say those things. And as you said, the more you say things that are positive about yourself, the more you give yourself love, the easier it is for that love, for you to feel that and say and give that to others. And you're right about it. If you say, I appreciate you into the mirror for yourself 100 times, it's a lot easier for you to go out, and when somebody does something that you like, something for you in some way in service to you, it's really easy to say, hey, I appreciate you. And I find myself saying it more and more. I appreciate you. I want to let them know I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. And I say thank you. And every person, especially the people down here, because I live in an area that has a lot of military, and my dad was in the military, and that was 22 and a half years of service for him that I benefited from, and I'm the product of his decisions and choices, obviously. And so every military person that I see, I tell them, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for making this choice, the decision to actually be of service to other people. And to anybody, firemen, or you name it, it's wonderful to have to be able to do that for people, and especially again people who are serving others. It's a chore where you're actually connecting with you're connecting with other people's energy all day long, and they deserve to know that you are that they're loved, that they're cared for, that people are thinking about them, that you're thinking about them. To me, that's very, very important. You put that out there, and you're bringing light to the room. And you don't have to be talking to a lot of people. A lot of people will pick up on that as well. And you can also be an influencer in doing that and saying that in front of other people. You remind them that everyone has value. And if they're not saying it, they might think about it. It's impacting their consciousness at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what being an influence to others. And as someone said, I think it was Bashar who actually said it, that people as an influencer, people will say, hey, that's how I can feel. I can feel like that. I work on, it's possible to feel like that instead of the way I feel about myself right now. It's possible. You're showing people what's possible, and you're demonstrating what's possible with regard to love. And that's what we have to be, is influencing people in that way, showing them what love in action looks like, what light, giving light in action looks like. And I hope we've done that today on the show on PRN FM here. And I'd like to say how much I appreciate our audience here listening on PRN FM around the world, and those who listen, tap into us on our Connect to Love podcast, because we're doing this because we love people, because we want this earth to be an awesome place. And Connect to Love is just that. To me, it's connecting to love in every way possible, every way, shape, and form. And I believe that we cover that. We do a good job of covering that here on the show. And if you believe that's true as well, what this world needs is love, right? Hal David, Burt Bacharach, what the world needs now is love.
Love, sweet love.
I wrote that one down the other day. I had to look up the authors to give them credit. The Burt Bacharach wrote the music, and Hal David wrote the lyrics. But it's an awesome song. It's so applicable to right here, right now. Timeless. Timeless. That song needs more covers. It needs more people covering it. That's what it needs.
I think you're right. And I think, it's natural at some points in our life to feel disconnection. I think it's very common, more common than most of us realize. But it's not the truth of who we are. We can be out of alignment and feel disconnected. But when we really take a step back and understand that the stream never stops flowing, that we just have to dial back into that frequency of love, and before you know it, you'll have those examples of love that are brought forth in front of you. And you just have to keep affirming that and bring yourself back. That's what love would do in any situation. If you are feeling the ache of disconnection, imagine that switchboard operator plugging you back in. Only this time, you're the one holding the cord. You're the one who can shift any awareness. You can reconnect to that ever-flowing present current of love. And if you're looking for a way to do that fairly easily, you can anchor it in with a few affirmations. You could try something as simple as, I'm never truly alone. Love flows through me and connects me to all. Or you could say something like, every interaction is an opportunity to remember our shared humanity. And as you're plugging that cord into the switchboard of the universal consciousness energy of love, you can say, I tune my heart to the frequency of oneness and let love lead the way. There's so many simple practices that can carry you into a space that aligns you with that inner love so that the outer world can reflect it back to you. Just think that, as you said, Michael, what the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Yeah, it's a great tune. Just listening to it, if people out there have Spotify or iHeartRadio or whatever, you can tap into this song anywhere in the world. It's been covered by some people, but Burt Bacharach sang the song initially. What the world needs is love is the name of the song. What the world needs is love. And you can look it up and listen to it. Start your day with it to remind you to be loving, and fill your day with reminders that love is the way. Love is what we need more of, and that giving love, giving your light and your love is it into the global consciousness is going to help us move past all this other noise and drama and chaos that is being perceived right now and around the world that people are engaging in. Okay?
Yeah.
And I thank you. I love you.
Yeah, love you too. Thank you. And then so many gifts in this conversation. And until next time, may love be your guide and love, sweet love be your song.
I love it.
Take care.
I love it.
Peace out. Thank you.